the last few months, I saw a person giving a speech or presentation on what they called homeschooling. And by the looks of it, there's other speakers and that kind of stuff, and other stuff going on. That was one of them. And I was like, well, that would be good. I mean, I homeschooled, or home educated, as I say, my children from when one was in going in fourth grade, one was going to sixth grade. I pulled them out before those times, and I educated them since until the graduation, that kind of stuff. But anyways, so the whole presentation went by, and I watched it, and I was really disappointed. I was like, that really said not much other than homeschooling is the way, and here are some other ideas that you could do homeschooling that would cost XYZ, or go here that may cost XYZ. And then there was a whole bunch of promotion weaved in and out of what they had going on and what they were trying to do and their agenda, what they were trying to accomplish. So overall, I left that and I was like, I don't think I should have attended at least that part of it, that speaker, because it was just, I'm just saying my opinion. It seemed like a real waste. But, and misdirection for other people who maybe have their kids in this thing called K-12 that I call a government indoctrination prison system. But that's a whole nother story that I won't go into. But anyways, to give you a start, if you're not familiar with this or don't know, I got a couple books that might be of interest. I mean, there are many more that I've had and read, and these are just a couple. If you can read that. So it's Indoctrinating Our Children to Death by Alex Newman, and this goes into a good detail on what's happening and what's going on, and it's anything what you would think. Another good book to get you started, if you want to look into this, and if you're just starting out, is The School World Order. That's a great read also, and it has a lot of great information there. Eye-opening stuff, I would say. So I'll just give you some insight and some stuff on what I had done and what I think was really beneficial and really made a lot of progress towards their education. There's my children's education and their well-being on that level. So anyways, I'm going to go through some stuff and they're just going there. So what I started with, a bunch of stuff because I was sort of worried. I didn't know. I thought, if I pull my kids from school, I'm going to damage them for life because they're not going to be educated in the school system, and what do I know? All that kind of stuff. I'm not a teacher, everything that people go through. And once I pulled them, the nerves are still there, so it's like, do I structure it as, this hour is this hour is that, the next hour is this, to give them a break in between, like a K-12 school would structure it. And I tried that. I really tried that for maybe 2 weeks. And then I loosened it up some, but I still sort of stayed with that, not as strict. And then probably after 2 months, I was like, you know what, this is ridiculous. I thought K-12, I thought schooling was one of the dumbest things I had to do as a child. And my thought on it were most of those teachers, and I was just a kid, I thought I knew more. If not, I thought I knew at least as much, if not more, and I thought I knew more than most of them. So those teachers, I was just a kid. And was I right or was I wrong? It doesn't matter, really. But that was my thought on it. And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to go through and try to copy or mimic the system that I despise and I think was horrid. So then I pulled up, I should say, and I said that we're going to stop doing this nonsense. And then I went to starting to read. The main focus that we started with, we would read, I would say 1 to 2 hours a day, give or take, depending on what we're reading. I would tell the kids, why don't you grab 2 books? Why don't you grab 2 books? I'll grab a book. And these are real books. These aren't school books. These are real books, and I'll show you a few of them. And I did a lot of heavy financial stuff, and historical stuff, history stuff, and some on medicine, if you want to call it that. I mean, real health is what I call whether you call it holistic or natural or whatever. But that's what I try to expose some of this Rockefeller pharma stuff to it. So I showed some books there, or reread some books there. I'll show you some of those also. So I want to go through that. I'll go through these books quick, and then I'll go down the rest of the stuff that I've done. So what I started with, not really started with, but financially, one of the good books that we read, I guess the boys read. So when I say we read, really I didn't read. It would help. My youngest was younger, and still had some sort of dyslexia to it as he was younger, and the school system said, well, we need to probably need to give him special treatment. We need to do this or that and that kind of stuff because he's just not progressing. That kind of stuff with the B's and D's and comprehending when he reads, la la. You don't need to know all that stuff. So anyway, so we started to read, and I would have him read real books. I mean, books that adults read, that kind of stuff. I didn't go down. You're in this grade level. You're in this grade level. So we're going to stick with that. No, we'll figure it out, and then he'll have to pronounce, and we'll try to pronounce and figure it out together, and then we'll figure it out if we have to look up a definition, or I make him look up a definition, that kind of stuff, and then we talk about it. So anyways, so one of the books were Economics in One Lesson by Harry Hazlitt. This is a great book. I think no matter what age, even an adult that has no idea, I would highly recommend this book. So we started there. I'm just going to drop these on the floor as we go. And another great book is The Creature of Jekyll Island by Jim Griffin. This is an amazing book. I mean, it's thick. It doesn't take long to read because it's very interesting, and it very travels you through. You travel throughout. So we read this. Both the boys reading, taking turns, that kind of stuff. And I helped my youngest. And on that note, I'll just pause here, skip. On that note, he says, he was really having problems struggling, like I had said, with reading, comprehension, writing, B's and D's, that kind of stuff. And after probably 4 to 6 months of us reading, my wife was amazed. She's like, holy cow, he's a different person. He's reading faster than I am, is what she said. I mean, he's going through it. And in the school system, indoctrination camp system, there was no way that was going to progress. There's no way that was going to get better. It was just going to get worse, and just going to sit there and fester like a sore and become more and more, in my opinion. But so anyways, he needed that, and we got through that. So another book, we read Rich Dad Poor Dad, also Robert Kiyosaki's Fake, a few other books by Robert. These were great books, they're great educational books, and the boys read them. Also, another one we read was When Money Destroys Nations. Great book, great read. It has a little insight on what Zimbabwe did once their currency went to nothing, and how they went through the struggles and how they had to problem solve and figure it out, which is also a great thing for children to learn, is problem solving and how to get what they need, or how to figure things out, because that's not what they're taught in school. They're taught, this is true, this is reality, memorize this, regurgitate it on a test. That's all they do. Right or wrong, if all this stuff's completely false, doesn't matter. As long as you can memorize it and regurgitate on a test, you pass, and you got a degree. Pretty similar to college, in my opinion. But anyways, another one is How an Economy Grows and Why It Crashes. Great book by Peter Schiff. And those were not all of them, but I mean, we had a bunch of financial books back here and stuff that we went through too. We probably, over the years that I had schooled, I'm guessing we probably read 50 to 100 financial books, at least. And then we read some books on the medicine, like I talked about, natural medicine, holistic medicine, what do you want to call it? And then we read some historical books, history books, and on events. Whether they're 100% accurate or not, we still read books on events like Waco, and other stuff that had happened with what I got with CIA stuff, and oh geez, that escapes me. But it doesn't matter. So here's another great book, Dissolving Illusions, that we read not 100% of this, most of this, and then we skipped around to some other stuff as we were trying to stay focused on what we were trying to get accomplished. And another one we read was similar to this. We did not read this book per se, but it's real similar to this. I disagree. This is a quick, easy read, and it's on the medical system, and I disagree with pharma and everything they're pushing and praising and trying to do, that kind of stuff. And there is a plethora of books. I'm not saying you have to do any of these books. You do none of them. But whatever you think is going to be the best to raise their education, get them educated, get them learning, get them hungry to want to go further in one direction or another, or several directions. You want to make sure that they're getting what they need out of that. Anyway, so what else I had done was I would have them do reports. And I started the old-fashioned way, where I had them write reports, type them up, and then do some display boards, print out stuff and do display boards. And that went on for a couple months. Then I was like, you know what? Nowadays they gotta figure out, what is really happening, what's really going on. So I said, you guys are going to do these. You guys are going to do your reports, but you're going to do them in PowerPoint. They had no idea even what PowerPoint was. And I said, well, it's this. And I sort of show them a little bit. Not much. And I said, I didn't teach them at all. I just, so they can know what PowerPoint was. And then I said, so you're going to take your reports. You'll do them all. You can type them up, write them out, whatever. They typed them up. And I said, make sure, correction, spelling, that kind of stuff, and grammar, whatever's all fixed or taken care of, and then put this in your PowerPoint. Add your images, add anything else to that you want. And they're like, well, we don't know how to use PowerPoint. I said, well, you know how to use your computer. And there's a thing called YouTube. I would go on YouTube and I would figure it out. So both my kids, that's what they did. They went on YouTube and they learned how to use PowerPoint by themselves. I did not teach them a thread of it at all, really. That's what they had to do, and they figured it out. So that's another process you don't learn in school. You're told A, B, C, D, and memorize those things, and then you're good, because this is what we think is best. So that's what you need to memorize. And no, and that's wrong. So anyways, so they learned it, PowerPoint, and they started doing all their presentations in PowerPoint. So then I would do probably a presentation a month is what I had them do. Maybe every 6 weeks, And how we started was I would pick the presentations or the PowerPoints they would do, or what do you want to call it? Their the reports, and I would choose the topics. And I didn't have them on the same topics, maybe same topic, but maybe different branches of a topic for each of them, whatever. And then I would say, you do this, and I would go through it a little bit, and then they would have to research and learn and do the reports. And that went on, and I think probably after 3 or 4 or 5 months, I was like, okay, you guys can pick a subject, but I need to approve it. So they would pick a subject, and I would approve it or change it a certain way, and then they would go through and do a report with that. And then here and there, I would pick some reports, and we would just, thread those in and out. Sometimes they would pick it, sometimes I would, and that kind of stuff. Just for example, when I said you guys pick reports on a company, let's say I want you to pick a report on a company and write a report on a company, do your PowerPoint on a company. My one son chose Nintendo, And he really dug down. He went way back. So Nintendo started out as physical cards, like playing cards. And then he goes through the whole gamut of that kind of stuff. And I learned from him in his PowerPoint. And my other son did, I believe, Magic the Gathering, which is a card-like game. So he did all Wizards of the Coast and that kind of stuff. He did that whole deal, the start of that and stuff. I'm just giving you these sort of examples. And then some of the subjects I picked were like the gold standard, and monetary within the United States, monetary within the United States and other countries, that kind of stuff. But anyways, that doesn't matter. So another thing I did, I would do weekly, I would do what I called common words. I think there was 3 or 4 sheets that I had typed up common words. They had to do the definitions of each of these words and then use them in sentences. What do I mean by common words? I mean by common words, if I'm reading something from someone online or someone either that they typed up or whatever, if I'm reading that, I just find so many errors, and it's so unnecessary for misuse of the word there, or your, to misuse those in wrong places. So there's so many common words. I just went through and I did all these different common words, and then they had to figure out, this is this means this means this is how you use it. And I would do that weekly for them. And I mean, weekly, we did this for a long time. And now both my boys are great at these, and better than most of the people that I hear that are professionals or see that are professionals, typing stuff or just doing notes or text or whatever. And that was my reason for doing that, because this is something it's getting lost in society. And it's just grammar, but grammar is important because you need to communicate. Another thing, I would have them read an old-fashioned dictionary, a real hard book dictionary, not the computer, and I would have them look up a word, each of them. Find a word in the dictionary, find whatever word you want, find a word, and write it out, write the definition, use it in a sentence or two, and then use it in your report sometime. And I did this weekly. And I think that was a great thing too, because they had learned so much more vocabulary. Along with, early on, I did some spelling tests for them, that kind of stuff, for different words. So also I'd have them, we'd go on field trips. What are field trips? Well, field trips could be anything. It could be anything from just going to a park and having them look around or do certain, exercise in the park. We had, where we were doing the homeschooling or the home educating, we had land there, so I would have them go through and do different things, learn about trees or, XYZ, that kind of stuff. And that was a field trip. You don't have to get in a vehicle and leave. We also brought them to, I believe it was World War I, Museum of World War I, for a field trip, and we did other field trips like that. Gardening. So we garden, and I had them gardening. They would do it not fully, but they learned, what is a garden, how to garden, why to garden, what are certain things, what do you need to do. Not they retained it all, but at least they got some sort of introduction to it. Also with that, I had them plant a lot of trees. We planted a lot of trees, whether they're maple trees or fruit trees, plum trees, that kind of stuff. A lot of tree planting. So they could figure out what types of trees and what they did, how to plant. Also, cleaning firearms, learning about firearms. This is this type of firearm, this is this type of firearm. This is for hunting, this is for hunting big game, large game, this is for hunting small game, this is just for shooting, this is just for birds, whatever, ducks, turkey, that kind of stuff. And so the cleaned guns. Also, I had them build a large doghouse. So we worked on a large doghouse, and I had them figure, how to do that kind of stuff, using your hands and cutting, measuring, all that. Also, insulating a garage. I had them insulate a garage. So they went through, they had to measure everything, they had to figure out how much insulation I need here, and then go through and actually insulate the garage. Plumbing repairs. So if there's any reason we needed some sort of plumbing or wanted to add, upgrade something somewhere, or change out a sink or change out a faucet, that kind of stuff. Like I said, leak or just cleaning, they did a lot of plumbing work also, so they learned how to do that kind of stuff. Electric, they ran electric in a pole barn that was recently built. They ran through, I helped them, but they ran through and ran all the wires, and then I told them how to pigtail, your neutrals and that kind of stuff, and how to wire pole barn. They didn't do everything. Once it was active, they didn't hook it up to the box, the service box itself, but rough in, electric, that kind of stuff. Also, we had a house that some people had rented and destroyed. Destroyed is too light of a word to say, but ultimately destroyed that home. And the boys and I went there, and they helped. They helped tremendously to get that ready to sell. I mean, there were reflooring, resurfacing. We had to go through and fix multiple holes, rip out carpet, paint down some stuff, some kills on the floor where there's some accidents, mishaps, whatever that they had done, whether it was on purpose or not. Replace blinds, replace windows. I mean, just along with the electric, along with plumbing, that kind of stuff. Painting, a lot of painting. Wall repair, like I talked about, that kind of stuff. And then yard repair. So a lot of yard repair there, and some stuff in the garage, fixing the concrete, everything. So they went through and we worked on that and got that ready to sell. So I learned a lot through that. Also, then going to coin shows, to figure out precious metals. So we read about it in books, so then it's like, well, let's start going to coin shows. Talk to dealers, talk to different dealers, and get a feeling of, well, this one might be trustworthy, this one I don't care for too much because I don't think I can trust them, or because of the way they talk, or they don't have good manners or mannerisms or whatever. So it's just interacting with people, real people that are out there doing stuff in the real world. And then once they did that, they started to wanted to invest at times, that kind of stuff. And like I said, you don't have to do any of these things. These are things I had done with my kids, and I think it was very, very beneficial. They are in the work field now, and it's been great. And they're using a lot of the skills that they had learned just from the home education, I should say. And that is something that usually kids don't get if they go through K through 12 indoctrination camps. They don't learn much from there to bring to the world. Like finances, you don't learn about. You don't learn about real world stuff. That's what I tried to do. We did a little bit to try to tell them what a checkbook was, and finances, and a loan and interest. We went over that, but we probably didn't go over it enough. But nowadays, I'll help them. I'll tell them if they have questions. But anyways, I'll digress there, and I just say, I think it's so important. You have a child or children. You're giving them away for someone else to do what I feel is so important in their lives for 12 years, 15 years, 18 years, 7 years, whatever their time is, that you could be doing or should be doing, or someone close to you could be doing or should be doing. Like I said, I started this out like a K through 12 school when I had certain things, subjects, certain hours. And then I ended doing, those reports and these different things on field trips. So instead of them being in homeschool or home education for even 4 hours a day, which is what I started with for the most part, not including lunch and that kind of stuff, it went down to maybe 2 hours a week. They could get the stuff done. And if they needed to do more because of the reports, they did it. 2 hours a week. That's something, maybe let's say 4 hours a week. Let's say 4 hours a week. That's something you could do. That's something you could work your full day and then come home and just check on them and say, this is what, how are you doing? These are what I've given you. These are X, Y, Z, whatever it is. And if you want to sit down and maybe have a half an hour a day reading with them, you don't have to do that 1 hour to 2 hours a day reading like I did. If you do, that would bring it up to 10 hours a week, which is nothing compared to your 7 to 8 hour school days that they're in. So yeah, I think that's essential. If you could do that also, and keep that reading, or like I did towards the end there, we read a little together. They would read a little bit, maybe 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes a piece, 10 minutes a piece, in two different books or the same book. And then I would say, okay, here's a book that I want you to read. Here's a book that I want you to read. And they're supposed to read that on their own. And that's what had happened over the years. And they would. And they'd say, I'm done. I'd say, what'd you learn? What'd you think? We would talk about it some. And then I'd give them another book. And that was that. And they sort of hungered for it. Now, it's not like it was work or homework or schoolwork that they didn't want to do. It was, yeah, for sure. I want to read more. I want to learn more. But anyways, I just want to say thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you like this, like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. As always, stay vigilant with yourself, your family, your health, and protect your wealth.